Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. For the first time after 75 years, India envisioned a 25-year plan, long-term plan. This main aim, main objective of this plan is to become superpower, to become economical powerhouse by 247. That is India at 100. It is highly praiseworthy to have such a 25 years long-term plan, because this is the lacuna so far for the last 75 years. When compared with China, especially, we are lacking of this long-term plan. Especially, India is a democratic country, whereas China is a dictatorship communist nation. However, in terms of economy, they are open society, we are closed society. This is what this unraveled by the former finance and foreign minister C. Subramaniam famously quoted it. So now, after 75 years of this India's economic and foreign policy, and especially there is a democratic epic journey, now we have a 25 years of planning process that is known as Amrit Kal. I told you now, this is what the main objective of this Amrit Kal is, to become the superpower, to become the powerhouse, to become power in almost all arenas, almost all angles of a society, a country. So India is one of the oldest and uninterrupted and living civilization, and it is only on par with China. There are only two living civilizations. On the one hand China, on the other hand India. Now India is 25 years plan, Amrit Kal. Now I would like to critically appraise this Amrit Kal, whether it is in accordance with the India's requirements or not. Of course, this India last year 2022-2023 or else 2023-24 budget, we can call this as a Amrit Kal budget by the Indian government. Amrit Kal budget, because this is initiated the 25 years of long-term plan. Okay, it has various schemes. That is what Saptarshi. There are 7 areas. There are 7 priority areas according to this Amrit Kal budget. The first, Saptarshi. This is what Indian term. Now we have the nationalistic government. That's what BJP led, the nationalistic government. Now every word, this Amrit Kal. What do you mean by Amrit Kal? Amrit Kal is an auspicious initiation of something. Auspicious initiation of something. Amrit. This is what Indian Vedic term. This is what national government, it is emphasizing, it is using. Okay, this is the various terms of Indian culture. And also these 7 priority areas are known as Saptarshi. We have 7 important rishis, cerebral minds, scholars, ancient spiritual scholars like Vishwamitra, Vasishtha, Gautama, Bharadwaja, etc. etc. These named after these Saptarshis. Okay, we have 7 priority areas. Now the first priority area is inclusive development. This is very important. Unless we have the inclusiveness, no use of whatever that we gained in terms of the developmental and GDP, etc. etc. Quantity is not important, quality is important. Now inclusiveness is nothing but to include almost all sections of the people. This is what lacuna in India for the last 75 years. It has been clearly exposed by the recent Oxfam report. This is Oxfam report, according to which around 1% of the population of the top, okay, they are holding 30% of India's wealth, whereas the lower ladder 50% of the population having only 3% of the wealth. It is revealing, okay, it is exposing the increasing disparities. India is rising economically, whereas India is facing very dangerous problem, a formidable challenge, that is in terms of lack of inclusiveness. This is the first area, very good. But the thing is, whatever that we have envisioned, a plans to achieve this inclusive development is not at all sufficient enough. Okay, especially in the initial, of course, this is the initial budget. Of course, in the coming budget, in the next 25 years, India may announce various plans, but at this moment we should have certain clarity regarding to achieve inclusiveness, because this is the major challenge. Though India is becoming the major powerhouse by 2047, that is India at 100, what is the use unless we have inclusiveness? So according to some, based on various analysis and explanation and elucidations, this is is a lack of inclusiveness or increasing the gulf between various sections. There are 6 disparities in India now: regional, sub-regional, communal, caste, gender disparities, rural urban disparities, etc. etc. These disparities include the sectoral disparities also. These increasing disparities is the major challenge for India, not terrorism, not Naxalism, not other areas. This lack of inclusiveness or else the increasing disparity is the biggest challenge. It has the potential to divide India. So that is why India should have clear-cut policies and programs to reduce these increasing disparities, as exposed by this Oxfam as well as our Niti Aayog report also. So India is lacking this one. So this is a lacuna clearly appears at this moment now. Next, reaching reaching the last mile. This is also very important objective in India. It is related to this financial inclusiveness, etc. etc. But of course, this is also lacking no clarity because states are not involved. Only central formulated. But as far as this policy making, inclusiveness, etc. etc. are concerned, this state's role is very prominent and very pivotal. But now it is only central government is moving, but that's not sufficient. Next one is infrastructure and investment. So India is faring very well, doing commendable development, commendable progress as far as the infrastructure and investment for the last 3 decades. Okay, according to various indices, according to various this business etc. etc. reports etc. So India's infrastructure and investment infrastructure program is second highest in the world next to China in terms of cement production, roads construction, airports construction, various infrastructure, whatever that infrastructure is there, include power generation. India is in a second position next to China, which means India is far ahead of the various OECD developed countries. So India is doing very well, but however, based on this India's achievement, India's objective is to become powerhouse by 2047. Whatever that infrastructure that we have, infrastructure is 2 kinds: social infrastructure, education, health, etc. etc. And another is the financial, physical infrastructure, roads, ports, naval ports, etc. etc. These are not sufficient. Whatever that infrastructure is on in the field and whatever that we are developing, not at all sufficient to reach our goal of to become powerhouse by 2047. Not sufficient. India needs around $2 trillion money investment problem. That's why in order to attract more investment, India is doing very well now, and India is emerging as one of the largest recipient of the investment domestically and externally also. Of course, it is doing. India may achieve in the 5 years, no doubt at all. Next one, unleashing potential. What do you mean by unleashing potential? The potentialities. India is the country of infinite potential. After the 1500 years of the foreign rules also, foreign exploitation, for example, according to some surveys like Angus Madison, Shashi Tharoor, etc., etc., around the Britishers around over a span of 2 centuries, they looted $40 trillion from the country. Of course, once it emerged as an independent nation for the last 75 years, India is rejuvenating itself. So now India is a potential power, potential superpower because of its potential resources like natural resources, human resources and various resources, infinite resources we have. So major problem of our country is to exploit this potentiality. For example, demographic dividend. Our mean age is 28.4 years. 1.4 billion population mean age is 28.4. We can't get what is the importance of this one unless we compare with other nations. Look at China. Chinese average age is 38 years, whereas Japanese age is 47, Germany 45, Scandinavian 45. So now we can understand this compared with China, our peer competitor. So how much? 10 years different in terms of the mean age of the population. So India is the oldest civilization where is the youngest population. This is what actual real strength of India. Unless we exploit it, we can't become superpower. Otherwise it will become bane as well as. I don't want to get into more facts related, but as far as the demographic dividend is more important. That's why Digital India, MNRG, even for the successive government also formulated various plans like Digital India, Skill Development Program, SSA, Sarva Shiksha Abhiyan, Midday Meals Program, various. These are all programs are targeting towards exploitation of the demographic dividend, but they are not sufficient enough because lacking of investment and also no coordination between the states, the actual administrator in India, in Indian federal system. 36 administrative units are there, including union territories and states in India. They are not fully participating. Though they are participating, they are not in accordance with this lacking of the coordination between the central government and other administrative units. So this is the biggest lacuna. And another important, green growth. This is the era of the crisis, that is the environmental crisis. World universe is facing environmental crisis, especially India is being a tropical country, it will be more affected adversely once this carbon and other global warming gases rise in this environment. That's why India is moving towards green growth. That's what sustainable development. Sustainable development include this physical, quantitatively, qualitatively as well as environmental. That is known as sustainable development. So now, as far as this green growth is wonderful target, that's India's solar mission and various missions and green energy. So they are doing very well, but it needs to be done more. Okay. Next, the sixth area out of Saptarshi, youth power. I told you this is what the mean is. Out of 1.4 billion population, 65% population, okay, 65% comes under the youth. So now this is the major power, youth power. So we should use the present investment infrastructure, this last mailing inclusive, all are targeting towards this exploitation of this youth power. So youth should be empowered, youth should be employed, otherwise India will fail. Okay, next one is financial sector. These financial sector reforms, especially these financial sector reforms are very crucial to achieve this infrastructure investment, this last mile inclusiveness, etc. These are all depends upon the financial sector. So this is the very good, this Saptarshi is well formulated, but it needs to be reviewed these periodically. It should be evolved, okay, evaluated periodically and should reform according to based on the requirements of the time. But however, India at 247. What do you mean by India at 247? This is what the major subject. Can India achieve? Can India become the powerhouse by that time 247 or not? Now, India at 247 or else India at 100. By that time, India will complete 100 years of Independence Day. So within for the last 75 years, during this formative age, I want to term this as a formative age. This is the basics. Okay, India laid a strongest foundation to achieve whatever it wants by 2047 or India at 100. So whether we have sufficient policy making related to this or not. So India wants to become power. What kind of power? Okay, there are various dimensions for a country to become considered it as a power. Okay, military, a sophisticated military hardware, self-sufficient military hardware. In terms of India, the present still we are depending upon 70% of imports. India is the largest importer of the defense goods in the world, on the planet. So it indicates that India yet to become self-reliant in terms of R&D, etc. defense. So India is facing formidable challenge, that is of two-front war, etc., etc. So in this term, India has to do more in the coming 25 years. Another important to become a superpower is economical superpower. According to various these financial institutions like S&P, Standard and Poor, Moody's, and OECD, IMF, IBRD, Nomura, even IFB. Okay, this secret report of the FBI of United States of America, they are unanimously predicting that India is going to become the second largest economy by 2047 with around $40 trillion next to China. Which means that by 2047 India is going to surpass United States among the present superpower. So it is the greatest achievement, commendable, no doubt, because everybody is unanimously predicting it. We can't reject it in any manner. That's why, how to this, no doubt at all, India at macro level we have, but what about micro level, that is inclusiveness. whether this $40 trillion is equally and equitably distributed among all sections of the people and all of its geographical region. That is the biggest question. That's why we need inclusiveness. So India definitely it is going to become superpower by 2047, no doubt at all. But it will be to whom? Whether to all sections of the people equally, equitably, or only certain sections of the people like Adani, this Tata, etc., etc. This is the biggest question. India should do a lot regarding this one. Otherwise, it will harm, it will dent in its prospect as far as this demographic, this social justice, etc., etc. So another important thing is related to this one is during the coming Amrit Kal, in the coming 25 years, no doubt India will achieve. But what about the social justice? Our constitutional objective, the main Indian constitutional objective is welfare state. In other words, socio-economic and political justice. India yet to reach this socio-economic and political justice, especially social justice. That is why this Amrit Kal should be the era of this eradicating these barriers for this justice. So welfare state in the coming 25 years, unless it will become the welfare state, no use of this economical power. Now China already is the second largest economy in terms of the around $20 trillion economy. But however, it is facing a lot of political justice, lack of political and social justice and regional disparities. China is going to be divided in the coming one decade unless it's solved. Okay, now India should avoid such kind of problems in the coming 25 years. Okay, to becoming this superpowers is the biggest target, no doubt. But at the same time, we should remove all barriers to become welfare state. That is what to achieve socio-economic and political justice. This is clearly in our Amrit Kal long-term objective in the present Indian policy. So we should remove all barriers to become the welfare state. India is going to become superpower, no doubt about it. Even the present growth process 6.5 to this one. But the present growth process is less than its potential of the 10% or double-digit growth. We should achieve it, and the infrastructure investment and inclusive policies, gender parities, regional parities, sectoral parities, these are all important to achieve welfare.